And now we are live.
Please go on mute if you're not talking. I think it's you, Deborah.
Tom, you are muted.
You're muted.
My bad. Sorry. If you're new here, let me just explain a little bit about what we do here. From our very first time we did this, it was because I was getting too many one-on-one mentoring requests. And I felt it would be better for those people that had questions to ask them in front of everyone and everyone try to help with that question also. Well, from the very first time we did this, it was clearly much better hearing from everyone than just me. So that's why we call it integrated mentoring. And as you know, we use that word a lot and we use it appropriately because integration is a powerful philosophy that when conceptualized can be used in many powerful ways. And we're a little older than 6 months old. We're still figuring ourselves out, but we've got a lot of activities that are helping what we call our family now. And you needn't worry about making these sessions. They're all recorded now. And I've even had new people get so excited about what they were learning from the old recorded sessions that they call it binge watching. And now that we're growing as a family and there's the steward team is growing, we don't have a leadership team. I'm the founder. Manpreet's pretty much the co-founder. Guy came along pretty soon after that and helped us immensely. But we're led by a spirit called more together. We don't really want to know or have more than each other. We want to have more together. And so as we learn, we like to share what we learn. As we figure something out, share that. If we see someone excelling above us and we want to understand better what they know, there's no one here that we found yet that doesn't want to share that. So that's our spirit. That's what leads us. We even have new moderators now, but the moderator that was scheduled today, Kim, she just can't show up because of another thing she got wrapped into, but I'm just going to fill in for that. And Manpreet and Ammar are going to present something to us and then allow us to help them with questions about it. So I'll go on mute, and Manpreet and Ammar, please take over.
Thank you so much, Tom, for this introduction, and thanks everyone for being here. I'm firstly so intimidated because I'm gonna present something to people like Dennis in the chat, and Jonathan, Tom, and Guy. I think, guys, you should be presenting something. Anyways, since the decision lied on me,
Ammar. You'll do a good job.
Since the okay, thanks. Since the decision lied on me, I'm gonna be here discussing the difference. Me and Manpreet, sorry, we're gonna be here. She's here, right? Oh yeah, she's here. I'm gonna be here discussing with Manpreet the differences between the skills needed for entry level in both academic and the industry in the field of AI. So we're gonna discuss what we might and will need in an entry-level job in AI in both academic and industry, and what are the differences. So the talk mainly aims to share experiences in the field of AI from two perspectives and compare the perspectives. So for what concerns myself, I'm gonna talk about the academic since I'm doing my PhD in Italy, and Manpreet's gonna talk about the industry side. I'm gonna start by presenting and maybe counting my points because every point doesn't have so much things to be discussed in. First, like as Tom knows, as he's a former PhD student and candidate, it's not suitable to say student. They often say candidate. Is usually resilient. So this is a generic thing that he should have. He should accept change and accept problems, and like, for example, the subject, the supervisor, the fund might change. though the subject and the supervisor might change. So if the fund changes, if the supervisor changes, if the subject, he needs to accept that and not like nag about that and those stuff. So we're talking about resilience here. It is important for the PhD student to accept changes, to accept problems, because it occurs. A university usually is not like um, a strict company that trying to make money. So it is usually for the government, and it might have some problems in every country. I've heard about this in every possible country. Um, this is the first like requirement for a PhD candidate. The second one is it might be great that if the candidate have a research background, any possible background, like lab internships, like maybe final year project and like convert it into a paper and publish it. Every research background and research spirit would be helpful, and it would not harm for sure. So this is very important and needed. On the other hand, like the candidate would need good spoken and written verbal skills in the language that he's going to be performing his PhD in, and it will develop with time, but he should have a good one because and if, as I was thinking, for me, I didn't have very good written skills in the scientific field. Like I can type some English. This is my third language. I can type some English, but I can't type. I didn't have the skills needed to write like professional English. Like professional scientific English. So after reading lots and lots of papers, and this spirit changed, and I had the mindset of how would it be possible for someone to write professionally. Like for example. If you're writing something, a report, a paper, a journal, anything, you cannot say, for example, that the results were great. Like what do you mean by great? Like which results? So you need to explain very well. Like maybe like a 5 years old boy would come and read it and understand it. Like the result that were that were done in section 2.2 were good with comparison to like the references that we have. So this is how you know that they're good. And just to mention here, I had a paper that I published recently, and I had a separate meeting with Tom. Thank you for your help. Just to decide on the title of the paper. Like we had a word comparison. Like the title would be a sentence, and it took me like a day or more to decide um, on the title. So other than resilience, other than research background, other than spoken and written language skills, you would certainly need the technical skills that I'm going to discuss later in AI, like the technical skills needed to attack papers and attack PhD. And then it is not intuitive to have a research mindset or methodology. So it would be useful to watch the Big Bang Theories, all the seasons. This is how you would have a good research methodology, like the research mindset. And it's it wasn't intuitive for me, for example. Even if I come from a research family, all my like family, my grandfather is a doctor, my father is the professor in the Lebanese university. I come from this background, but even though I didn't have the research mindset, and it is still developing. This is my second year in my PhD, and I don't think I have it solid yet. So other than this, those are the general ones: having resilience first, research background second, spoken and written skills in the language that you're gonna be doing your PhD in, research mindset and methodology, and technical skills. So I'm gonna talk now a bit about technical skills, but let me share my screen to show you something. Can you see it now? Okay, so in here, I'm gonna be like as you can see, I'm gonna discuss now the differences between an AI project in both academic and production machine learning. which is something Tom and Raif are working on right now. And I've seen this in a course for deep learning AI, the newest one. It is called Machine Learning in Production, and I'm gonna discuss it a bit. So
Hey,
let's
Ammar,
compare. Yeah,
before you go into this one, just a
yeah,
quick question from the chat.
sure.
What are your first and second languages?
Oh, first Arabic, second French, third English, fourth Italian, for now.
Awesome.
Wait.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, so let's compare some of the differences between machine learning modeling in a research academic setting and in real production machine learning. So to start with, in an academic or research environment, you're typically using a static data set. So like for production ML, a real world data set is used, and that might change, and it is dynamic, and it is usually shifting with time for like lots of different reasons. So this is the first one, data. So in here we can say that in the academic field, it is static because this is, I know that this is true. This is what we do. Like the first thing that we get the data set, we clean it, we tune it, and it is fixed. And then we go and work on the model. The second one regarding priority for design, like the design priority for academic and research machine learning is usually the highest accuracy over the entire training set. But in the production machine learning, it is fast inference, good enter, enter, uh, good accuracy and good cost. You know, like having multiple business reasons would add like a problem over the already existing problem of, you know, accuracy, and maybe other, you know, like other scientific ones like recall, F1 score, and what. So another one other than data and priority for design, we would see that the model training for research machine learning is based on a single optimal result, and the tuning and training is necessary to achieve it. So you're gonna work everything you have in order to achieve just this exact result. You know, like optimal tuning and maybe sometime over tuning, just like overfitting to achieve a result. Because you're gonna compare it with the state of the art papers, and then like if you have 2% differences, you're gonna be able to publish the paper, and you might overfit those 2% just to have the paper published. So this would be like a application specific thing. While in production machine learning requires continuous monitoring, assessment, and retraining. Fairness is very important in any machine learning model, but it's absolutely crucial for production machine learning. For example, if you're doing a research and you're training a model, like just in Italy, in the university, you don't have to get data from like let's say that the data is about I don't know, like cancer. Like there is one type of scanners in Italy that is used, and you're going to collect your data with this machine. You don't have to worry about other machines, other type of machine that produces x-rays or whatever. So this is why it's not very important to think about fairness in this example, where you're developing something for research, while in the production you need to get data from all possible machines. Okay, so this is why fairness is very important in academic research but crucial in production machine learning. Finally, like the main challenge of academic and research machine learning is finding the intuition and like a high accuracy model. Those are the two crucial ideas. Like for production machine learning, the challenge is that like plus everything else, like for production material plus everything else, you would have the accuracy. So it should be accurate, it should be dynamic, it should have fast inference, it should have low computational power if you're running on the edge, and it should have low cost and depending on the application. So I think this is clear enough. And this like table, I think it's very representative of the case, and it might or might not be so relevant to our discussion here, like the differences between the skills needed between entry level and academic and industry, but this is more like the differences between the technical skills needed in AI in both academic and industry, and maybe mindset. But like no one would be entering a company and working on like a high level production machine learning if he's on the entry level. But yeah, this is anyway true. And thank you guys. I'm gonna hand over now to Manpreet, who's gonna
A quick question for you here,
yeah,
Ammar.
sure.
As Tom stated, this is a great breakdown. Do you see an inherited risk in data being static in the academic research section? Because if
don't.
the overall, if there is a drift in the whole population, something changes in the nature of the data. If you're static, will your result be deemed archaic at some point?
I love this question. Okay, so I'm gonna start by saying that the only thing that is stable in life is change, and we all agree on that, right? But the other thing that we all agree on is in the academic like life. It is. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna open the chat now. Okay, in the academic life, it is also known that when you perform an experiment or when you publish a paper, you would describe your data set, your procedure, your like the tutorials, like everything you did, like in details, and this would compensate the problem of static data, because you are here saying as a proof of concept for the industry that it is possible to do something with this data, and you need to continue, and as an industry you need to go further and handle all the other problems, because if a concept works somewhere, so it means like it's almost all the times extendable, right? Let me formulate this again. So if the cancer problem is working well on Italian X-ray machines, that means that it is probably will work well on all X-ray machines.
It makes sense. So what I'm hearing is, at the academic research level, you can create a product that is now iterable to other use cases. So now you have the proof of concept. You can now go and develop it on future data because now you have the base.
Exactly. And it is not possible for research to extend that much because it would be so time consuming and so like company driven move, that would be very different than what research is used to do.
Thank you very much. We do have
Thank
a question by Raif. Please go ahead, Raif.
No, I don't have a question. I want to comment on this question, in fact, because it's a very nice question. I like it.
Yeah.
The target of the research in general, it's focused on the model. It's checking if there is a better possible modeling method to find a solution for a specific problem. So in this way, that's why sometimes we are using static data sets, because we are testing the possibility of this modeling method or this algorithm, how it will perform against this kind of data set. Most of the time, even we are using the same data set for multiple modeling. Now, once we have kind of proof of concept, we can build on it to go and push something to the production. But what's pushed to the production, it's something else, because it's not only considering the modeling, it has to consider the model, the data, the issues might appear, how it will be served, all of this together. So that's why sometimes we are accepting static data sets. But if I have a question, it will be about the accuracy, how you are collecting. I don't think it's acceptable, even in the research, to do overfitting, even if some research is doing it. So
okay.
This is the only thing I meant.
Okay, no problem. I'm gonna discuss this like very good, but let me add to what you just said, that In addition, one good thing of having this research on a static data set, that you would have a benchmark, like accuracy. Like you would know what is maybe human level performance of the machine. Like if I'm doing a research on the cancer ones, and I get like 80% accuracy, anyone in the production would know that he should minimum have an 80% accuracy to reach the human level performance, because we can test the human level performance in such cases. Like the human level performance, let me say the machine level performance. So this would be a fair value to compare with, you know. And regarding your question, guys, about the accuracy and how you might overfit, sometimes tuning too much hyperparameters would loosen the model from its generic style, you know, like adding like many specific layers, and you know, pooling maybe 2% here and 20% there, and like doing a non normal model would do so. And I actually had a problem here. I myself working on a project where we have different types of input to a model, and we're using functional API here. And the problem we had is that we did too much handcrafting, that it lost its meaning, you know. Like we are trying to automate something, and on the other hand we encountered a problem here, so we discussed something and we made like a turnaround solution, and we had a problem there, and we discussed it and we made another turnaround solution. We're all with all of those having multiple inputs to the model, and multiple types of inputs as well. We like we had a big problem at the end, and this is what I started working on, because there were a student before me, a PhD before me, who worked on that, and had a model that is working, but on a very specific, in a very specific case.
Did not mean to derail like this. This is very interesting conversation. Let's hear from Manpreet
Exactly.
and learn from her as well. And then we're going to hear some thoughts from Dennis on this subject here.
Perfect. I'm gonna stop sharing now. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, everyone, for inviting me, and thanks, Ammar, for being my co-partner in this talk. As Ammar had discussed about the PhD as an entry level in academic, I'll be discussing about technical skills needed, or the skills actually needed to be working in the industrial level as an entry level in the industry. Uh, since I graduated in 2020, and it's almost like 1 year into the industry working, I'll be sharing some things what I have learned throughout the journey till now, and what I see it. So first of all, while before moving ahead, I would like to start with entry level. How do you apply uh, to jobs when you are in college, or you are shifting from like one domain into another domain? Like suppose you're working as a software engineer and now you're shifting into data science domain, so you still considered as an entry level applicant in some companies because you don't have an experience of working as a data science. So before we move ahead to what actually goes into working, and in the whole process what goes before it, I would like to discuss. So when you are in college, you have an ample opportunity to explore a lot of things. I would suggest to be a part of lot of communities, student communities in college, be it cultural or be it technical, because cultural clubs also enhance your other skills like leadership skills. How do you go well teams? How do you gel up with other team members? How do you discuss and plan things? How do you manage things in budget? So a lot of things goes even while you are in other communities. And technical communities like we have Google developer groups or ACM or any other technical groups often tell you to be like about open source projects, GSOCs, and help you know and more collaborate. I can give you one example. So we had this one community, GDG Surat, and our website, our college website was not so good. So what happened was the students in the community took a project to build our college website and revamp it. And that's a very good project to showcase in your resume because you actually did some work that helped community or college. So when you're building a project in your college, if you do something like this, it helps you to build and showcase to interviewer that okay, you have done something that has made a difference. So people often ask what project should I do, how will my project be useful. You can do and find out small use cases from nearby you that can help the community, society, your parents in your business or your college, anything, because that would mark a very good sign that you are just not typically into doing same projects that other students do, but you have a wider thinking and perspective to things. So this is one thing that I feel is very important. And as an entry level, you should be very clear with your basics because you're not an experienced person and you're not work on industrial projects. So an interviewer would not see that you know in-depth knowledge of so much of end-to-end productions, but they would definitely see that how well you know your uh, concepts written in your resume and how well you are with your communication skills and your soft skills. Because if you're a person who can divert the interviewer towards what you actually are very confident to talk about, uh, sometimes it's a very win-win situation that you turn the interview to what you like to talk about. And also highlight the projects you want your in your resume that you want to be get noticed and asked about because you're very confident about it, because it adds value to your work, what you are doing. And as a person who is from like a software engineering or any other domain and now wants to shift into data science domain, I think first thing foremost important is to go and learn from your own team at workplace. So for example, you have a data team and you have a colleague who's a very good friend of yours. You can just go by and sit with him and see, okay, what all visualizations do you do, how do you get this data, how does this data help the clients or business partners, how do you visualize it, what's its importance. Start collaborating and speaking to your colleagues at work, because if you want to learn, you'll have to speak and you'll have to network, not just within LinkedIn, but within your team as well, because you can't lead anything on your own. And it's always that team goes and team efforts goes, and not you yourself who leads everything. Because even if you're leading something, you would need a team or people under you to work and look after things, because you can't be the master of all everything. And if you're master of everything, why would you work there? So it's very important for you. If you want to shift, you need to have that passion to learn more. So when you want to learn more, you would like to collaborate. And also recently I was approached by a member of a dev team to tell me, okay, help me with learning Python, I'm planning to shift. So during some of our calls, I tell him, okay, we get this data in a certain way and we store it this way. So what you see on the web with our data, you do it in that way. We get that data for you in this way. So it helps them to know and it keeps them aware. So when you're shifting to another domain, you can even say at interviews or when you're applying that I do have not worked, but I have assisted with my friend on this project as this part, and I learned a lot. This was besides the work I do. So it also gives a good impression about you that you're very enthusiastic and you're very serious about your current change, because you would be often asked this first question, that why do you want to change it after so many years, or after working for like 2 years, why you want to change your domain? Is it the demand, is it the money, or is it something that makes you shift from this domain to another domain? And you will have to face a lot of competition, because existing people already working so hard. And I can say what I'm doing currently is what my juniors in second year and third year are doing. So to up your game, you have to constantly learn and be patient. And now, when you are into job, how as an entry level you can enhance your skills. So first of all, have a learning attitude, because it's very important. You have never worked on that thing, you never know, so don't hesitate to ask questions and make mistakes, because you are a human and mistakes do happen. And but do learn from your mistakes. It's very important, because I did a mistake. I did a git commit uh, by mistake, which deleted a 1 month data for our company, but luckily somebody had that backup, so it could help to get back the changes that had happened because of my commit. But I have learned, and I'm now more extra cautious before I push and commit anything on the company's GitHub. So it's very important to learn from your mistakes, and with time, try to take charge of products. Take Try to be like take charge of things. Suppose given a data and you are told to perform this visualization, try to take charge. Okay, I try out these many things, and I think if we use this data in a certain way, it could help our clients or business partner to understand more about our services, or help us to understand our customers. So if you have any idea, do share, and take up a charge to be take up a charge to share your things, because you never know, an idea of yours could be implemented and be a product, and you would be leading that project. So you never know what would happen. And initially, being hired as a off not online but offline, and everything getting online, you will never meet your so you don't get a chance to meet your managers or teammates, and everything is online. So do try to talk and gel up with your teammates, because they are the one who you will be working with, though you don't know when you will be meeting. So try to gel up with them. It took me like 4 months to know my team. And after that, it took me like 9 months to know other people at the organization. So I did get a feedback that I don't speak at work at all. And then I tried to improve it, to speak up in meetings and be a little more active in asking questions, because that was a real feedback that I got, that you are so active on LinkedIn but you don't speak up at work. And that hit me hard. So I tried to be more active and ask questions, because why I did not ask first, because I never met them and I had that fear, what if I ask, what will they judge me on? But I think when I didn't speak, they thought that I either don't understand anything, or either I don't want to ask. So when I started to ask, I got a lot of things clear in my head. So it's better to gel up and ask. It will take time, because you're not meeting in person, and so it will take time. But it's good to have a good talk with your manager when you are in a place, or someone that at work will understand you. And try to broaden your knowledge, because as an entry level, you don't have a label on you that okay, you are a experienced front-end developer, or and you are like a 5 years experienced data scientist, you do such stuff. You are just in an entry level, just 2 months or 9 months into company. So you have an ample opportunity to do a data science model work, to learn Power BI, create. Then you build your own analysis tool and you can do your own visualizations. Do it for your own learning, just not for because you want to do at work, but do it for your own learning. You might never know, you might like doing it more than what you are at the job role, and you would explore that field as well. So, as an entry level, you have a great opportunity to explore every domain you like to. And recently, I had a talk with my friend who said that the company is providing them various kinds of projects so that they get an gist of what all work has been doing. So, they get a charge of doing data modeling, to data analysis, to creating reports, to documentation. So now, like after an year, they have a gist of what all goes at work, and they have like an options to choose from and explore more of their skill set. And lastly, this is what I've learned. Even creating a small documentation can provide tons of profit to your company or clients. So have a good habit of documenting your work because you work on lots of work and you never know that after like 3 months you visiting your own code and you won't understand a thing that why did you use that variable or why did you drop that table or that column. So have a habit of writing and documenting your code well and your work as well. And it's very important to how you can help the clients be more business attractive. So how you can use the data that can help your clients generate 25% of profit or generate a lot of revenue. So that's a good thing that goes onto your CV because you can mention to when you're applying to another company and you would say that with my this project it helped the company save around 50% of their revenues or we generated a profit of 25%. So they see something and an asset in you so that they would like to invest in you because you are helping them to either save money or generate a lot of profits. So it's important. And coming down to a very common stuff that goes well with both academic and technical is don't ever overload yourself with work. Take breaks on weekend from work because you have a 5 day work thing. So keep your work on 5 days and 2 days for your family or your extra learning. Also, while you are at work, try to balance out that you work 8 to 9 hours, 9 to 10 hours, not more than that, because you should also learn to say no. We often fear saying no because we think that we are freshers and what will manager say, he'll not give me a raise or he'll think bad of me. But if you don't say no, they would think that you can take up the load and they would start giving you a lot of load. So have a subtle way of saying no, not like directly say no, but have a subtle way of saying no. And lastly, if you can take some initiatives at work, even if you're doing a research and you're like, I think this can be done in a certain way, and we can try building out model and state of art projects on this, and something which you think can be taken. If you think a particular data can help clients to reach a certain audience, so take initiative. You'll get rejected, but you'll not regret that you didn't try. So I think trying is better than regretting that you did not give it a chance. And thank you. That's all for my talk today. And I hope it was.
Awesome, Manpreet. Awesome, awesome. We're going to hear from Dennis first. For those of you that are new, we have to talk to Dennis before he goes for soup. So that's why and plus, I want to give a plug for my friend Dennis. I get no kickback for this except goodwill. You need to, if you can, own every one of Dennis's books. They're written extremely well. They're very helpful. If you understand the material in them, you will be a well-rounded AI person, a data scientist. So don't feel like you've got to learn it all at once, though. Remember, all of this is like a long hike. So Dennis, please let us glean from your wisdom this morning before soup time.
First of all, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to build on what Ammar said and what Manpreet said. But this time, since I'm here often, I just want to tell you a story, and then you can take what you want from this story. So Ammar first started by showing the difference between academy and real life. And then Manpreet introduced the real life constraints of working and making profit. I'll just build at that and tell you a real story, and then you can learn from it, take whatever you want from it. So we're in 1987, and I've just finished an aerospace project, my first aerospace project, which was, I'll admit, easy for me because I was at Sorbonne University and I really love math and I love aerospace. So honestly, that was easy. So then now I'll fast forward until spring 1988, and I don't know what to do with what I did because you don't have that many aerospace companies. The first company I delivered in my life took 200 copies of it and put it on ships everywhere. It was a defense project, so I had 200 copies out, and you just get university money for it. And I was saying, how much? What am I going to do now? So then a textile company, an apparel company, asked me to find a way to optimize fabric in their company. Okay, so we're in May, June, and I'm talking to the manager, and I'm saying, "What am I doing here? I don't know anything about apparel. I don't know anything. I know aerospace, but I don't know apparel." He says, "Listen, if you can do aerospace, you can do this." I said, "I'm not sure I can do anything. I don't understand a word of what you're talking about." So what I'm telling you now is the approach I've done all my life. I said, okay, I'll do it. So it was June, and I said, why don't you go see the editors that do it? And there are only two editors in the world that were able to optimize fabric with machines in the factories. I won't say the names. You'll find one is still the world leader, and I know the owner very well, so I'm not going to say his name. So and they were there for years and they hadn't found a solution. This company says we keep asking them, but they don't optimize the fabric. They give us this nice theoretical calculations. We don't save any money. We don't earn anything. Like Manpreet said, we don't earn anything. And they were more academic than. So I said, okay, but I want to do it the way I want to do it. So I said, okay. So I went to a shop and I bought these big pieces of paper. And then I went and I said, I want to work in the factory. They said, what? Yeah, I don't want to work in an office. I want to work in the factory. I'm going to the factory. So people, that's the way I am. I'm a maverick. I'm not like everyone else. So he says, what are you going to do? I'm going to the factory. I'm in the factory. I want to go see the man that does the stuff by hand. But he said it's a very noisy factory. I don't care. It's dirty. I don't care. So I took my computer, and it was these old computers. We didn't have laptops, and so I had to carry my big thing there and put it in the workshop, right in the middle of the workers that kept stopping and say, "What is this guy doing in the middle? He's bothering us." I said, "I'm trying to figure out how you work, so I can do something that might work. So just leave me alone." So I started writing the program, and I said, "I don't know. What I'm writing is nonsense. I mean, I'm sitting here writing lines. No, I want to do the job." So I went back to see the manager and I said, "I want to be a worker." "Are you crazy?" "Yeah, I want to be a worker for like 1 or 2 hours when I get here. And then I'll go programming 1 or 2 hours after with the guy that's doing the calculations by hand sitting next to me. He has to sit next to me as long as I develop." And he said, "I ain't going to do anything at home." I'm doing nothing at home. I'll work as a worker, and then after, the guy sits next to me, and while I type my program, I ask him if the rules I'm putting in there are good. And the pattern, because it was an automatic learning pattern system already. And I said, I want to see the patterns that I generate. Do they look good? So I really learned how to cut. I'm a cutter. I know how to cut with a manual cutter. I know how to cut cloth. I know how to use an automatic machine. I know how to sew. I know how to use the sewing machines. I really learned the job, and I did it for 1 year like that. But only after 3 months I understood everything. I didn't have high skills, but I understood every single parameter that enters that kind of job. So in fact, I was an expert. So when you're saying, yeah, I wasn't a freshman anymore, I was a senior. So when I got, after 2 or 3 months, when I went into a meeting with the managers and they talked, I said, no, 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 that's not how your factory works. I'm sorry. I was there at 5 of the, no, 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 no. That's not how it's done. Yeah, but we're going to, no, 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 that's not the width you have to buy. You're buying the wrong width of fabric. Oh, you're buying the wrong length. No, you're not buying the good cutting machine because you just bought a bad cutting machine. So I was an expert in their own job. So after 2 or 3 months, I produced software that was really generating calculations that were better than the guy doing it by hand, of course. Because I was saying, if you had a magic wand, what would you like a computer to do? So he kept giving me his tricks of the trade. And he said, if you don't add a little parameter here, it won't work. If you don't take into account that the fabric can be damp, humidity, it won't work. So at that point, I had a program that worked and I got paid because I said, I don't want to get paid unless it works. So after 3 months, I got paid because I knew the job. And I've done this all the time. I've been a worker in Morocco, getting up at 5 in the morning with the workers, taking the fabric off the trucks, going in, cutting them, learning how the machines work, then going into the office and develop. So after 3 months, I was doing that, and one of the two world editors came to the factory and say, how can you do that in 3 months? We've been trying for 5 years. I said, sure. Did you ever go in a factory? No, we don't have to go in the factory. We're engineers. We develop in our office and we know better than all those workers. Oh, you know better than the workers? Sure. Well, that's why you spent 5 years and I spent 3 months. So then 2 months after, the owner of this corporation said, call me over. He had me fly to his head office and he put all those engineers in front of me. And it was very funny because I went there with one of my colleagues and they were trying to kill me. They were trying to show, no, we can do better. And I said, do you know how that machine works? He said, what machine? That brand. You know that it won't cut right, so you need a little extra cloth. They didn't know anything about the job they were working on. So I just cut them into pieces. And then I became a consultant. I was their software manager as a consultant for 6 months, but they really hated me, I can tell you that. Because these engineers were working for 5 years, and you have this young, stupid kid coming in and making fun of them because I talk the way I'm
I
talking
think
to
the
you.
reason why they hate you is pretty obvious, no?
Well, I talk to them like I'm talking to you. I have no social varnish. So just sitting in front of them say, oh, you really do that? I mean, wow, that's cool. So I'm a bit ironical. I have a sense of humor. So I did that for 6 months. And then after I went this, I sold the same stuff to the other one, the other world competitor, which is in the States. So they flew me in. And after I said, I don't need these editors. I'm just going to go edit it myself. And that's how I started my own software career, selling it directly to customers for years. And then it evolved into another software program that's still running. The second version came out in 1999, but this one could schedule a whole corporation or multi-corporation. I sold it in 2016, but it's still running. It's a C++. It's been running for 25 years. So no one, and you know why they didn't beat it? Because they don't take these practical things into account. They keep developing new products, but they don't go to the factories. It's still, nothing has changed. So that's my story. Now you can take anything you want out of it or nothing. I mean, it's just a story, but it's a real story.
No, I'll do.
Okay.
There's a comment by Rife here, maybe for alluding to what you're talking about, Dennis. Rife.
Yes, thank you, Greg. First, Dennis, thank you for this story, and thanks for Ammar and Manpreet. It was great discussion today. Dennis, I'm commenting here about the rule that you are trying to do in this story, and maybe because we are friends, I listened to another story previously similar to that, which is not only focusing on what's the stakeholders or the business owners they want, because they are focusing on the results, but also focus on the operational part, how the user they acting, how they are operating their daily business. Now, this is important, and maybe because I did the same for smaller and smaller let's say, scale. So I agree with that. But I will back to Manpreet here, and I will say how much important when you are in a team to communicate and to ask, because maybe someone in your team did this task, did what Dennis was talking about, and you need to build on his experience, not to repeat the work. So this is what I get from these two stories, from Manpreet and from Dennis. Dennis, he's talking about real case that he's showing us what's happened and how the great result appeared sometimes. And according to that, if I back to Manpreet, yes, communication, ask, try to be involved, take a charge, and also communicate well to your team member, because this is will, if somebody make the, let's say, the investigation needed for your task, you will be able to get this experience from it. Now, my question to Dennis, if you agree with what I said, get the investigation from your team colleagues, how much you are able to trust other team member investigations,
Okay,
and how you are able to evaluate it.
so this is a real story, right? I don't trust anyone in an office. Even if he spent 10 years, anyone that's a theory, I trust workers. If I'm working in manufacturing, I've found, because I've been around for decades, I found that if you find the right workers, they are experts. They know more than McKinsey, they know more McKinsey or Capgemini or us. The workers. I want to talk to the people doing so I don't trust anyone in an office. I trust a worker. So if I go to see the worker, now what I've done several times is I go find the best worker in the factory and I take him out of the workshop, because since I have results, which
Hey,
it will get to your point. Since I get a lot of good results, the CEO said, let Dennis do what he wants. So I pull the worker out
okay.
and I bring him into the office. And I say it's easier for me to train him to click on a computer, because this is all he has to learn, to click, click, click. Now to take a clicker and put him in a factory, that's a bit more difficult. So
Dennis,
in this
uh,
real case
let-
apparel, I took a lady that was sewing, and no one, and she didn't speak French well. She didn't have correct language. She was using sometimes bad language, but she was the best sewer. And I pulled her out and I told the manager, she is going to be the consultant and the user of my system. She didn't know how to use a computer. So I said, don't worry. Her name, I
can
remember her
I
name.
reverse that question?
Her name was Evelyn. I said, all you need to do is click on this, because it's an automatic system. So you click and check, click and check. Tell me if it's good, good, bad, good, bad. That's all you have to do. She spent years using it. She became an expert. She never went back to the workshop in her life.
Okay, I will reverse the question. Right now, since you are trust the workers, I agree with that. Now I'm part of your team and I want to trust you to give me this information to perform what you are looking for. I'm working with you, I'm one of your team, and you want to give me a task from this investigation. And then I will be responsible for the result of this task. How I should trust you?
You
At
don't
the end,
trust me. You don't trust
okay. Now
anyone.
this is
So
what I mean.
I take you.
Trust the results.
No, you don't trust anything. I take you and I take you into the workshop and I have you do what I did. That's it. Until you've gone through it again and you know how a worker works in a manufacturing system. I'm not going to talk to you. So people that worked with me had to go some pretty difficult situations, because I had them become workers, and I took them even on aerospace projects. I took them to see the welders. You're not allowed to touch it, of course, but you have to stand next to him, watch how it. Take people there. I take you into the workshop. Once you speak workshop language and you come back to me, I said, don't even listen to me. You know, and just look at the program. Like Manpreet said, look at the documentation now that we've written. I believe in workers, in manufacturing. And I did this also in warehouses. I worked in the warehouses at midnight, during the night. I worked every time I had to do something, I would do what the people at the lowest level do. because they understand their business better than we do. If you go see an Amazon worker in a warehouse, he knows better than Jeff Bezos what's going on in that warehouse. And he'd say, I don't understand why I had to go over there and to there, and then I have to come back to here, and I don't understand why my machine wasn't a bit. They're experts. So believe that you have my answer.
Yes, that's thank you, Dennis. Guys, why I asked Dennis this question, because I was many times, not here online, in my real life, I was telling them our way of generating software products, not only AI products, software products in general, software engineering products, it's suppose this will help the humanity, will help the people, but we are let them suffering. Why? Because we are not following this process. Now, maybe I didn't agree 100% about that each one has to be with the workers. We have to find a way to transfer the knowledge. But yes, this is the process that we have to take care about if we want to make the human life easier and the things to go more
I'd like
smoothly.
to add something. When one of my last projects was for one of the biggest corporations in the world, before I just sold the company, because I wanted to have a big project before selling the company. So I made an effort. Who designed the interfaces? The users. I went to see the electricians. I went to see the mechanics. I brought them into a management. They had these French croissants in the morning, and I said, you're going to leave this room when you have designed the software. He said, we're not software designers. Yeah, we're going to use it. So you're going to design it. I don't care what you do, but we'll leave here when you agree on what's on that wall, and then we'll develop it. So I gave them a custom interface. I don't know how many workshops. I can't tell you the number of workshops I did, but I'm talking about hundreds of people. They built their own program. So once they built it, what can they say? It's their program. Of course, everything that was behind was automatic, but it was reflection of their job. I knew their job. Then they built the interface, and then the interface was there, and it was seamless. On day one, it worked.
I do have two questions for you.
Before you go, guys,
Yeah.
let me ask real quick here. Jonathan, you might have something you wanted to ask. Did you still want to ask?
Yeah, no, actually, it's just emphasizing what Dennis said. Quite often when I have questions regarding the production that's going on, I know from experience, if I go to the supervisor of the production for any information or any data, it seems to come back realistic because they're trying to keep it in line to what's expected of them from the account management. So I always go to the people on the floor to get any understanding of what's currently happening in production. And I put a comment in the chat, and it's basically saying what should happen, what does happen, what they think happens, and what is documented. And I look at all of those together before I say, okay, well, I need to get this data correct. So instead of going to all the people that created those documents, I will go to the people on the floor. So I can definitely share that with Dennis there, go to the floor and don't trust people in the office.
So just before I leave, I wanted to give you something maybe you can look at. I listened to this biography of Elon Musk on Audible. It's a 5-hour thing with a man that spent 6 months with him. So it's very long to listen to. But Elon Musk, of course, is Elon Musk. I'm not going to comment on the way he talks on social media. But Elon Musk is an industrial genius. Even if he's a social media, whatever, I don't know. I can't analyze what is, and he's not mainstream, that's for sure. So, but if you're talking in the industry, he's a genius, and I found that genius listening to it because he built Tesla. It was a mess. If you listen to it, nothing worked. So he took the engineers and all these office people, and he built something right in the middle of the factory. You'd have to check that, but I think that's the way it was done. He said, I'm putting the engineer right in the middle. So you're going to have to cross the factory all the time. So it's integrated development. And then he did the same for SpaceX. Now, where does this come from? I didn't invent this. That's what I want to say. I didn't invent this, neither did he. Toyota invented that.
Correct.
Toyota invented that in the 1970s. And in the best French car, the French car in France that is built with the most French components is Toyota. Toyota is the ultimate French car because it has the largest percent of components built in France. If you go to their factory, you will see that managers have to work with the workers, workers with the managers. And I know another aerospace corporation which manufactures engines. And every 2 years, you have to change your job, and they send engineers back into the workshop for 2 years and then back up as an engineer. So I didn't invent anything. That's my
But I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You said about trusting your workers more, but as a fresher, when you go into the corporate world, you have been into a very small bubble, and you go into industry and or experience things. So what you have always heard is you trust your manager and you look up to him. So that's what I was taught in college, that if you have anything, you go to your.
Hold on a minute. I have to consent to. Yeah. Okay.
So
I had.
what do you?
I live in France, and in France, it's no one trusts a manager. So there's something special. It's what I like about this country. There's no kind of belief in hierarchy. We don't. In 1914, France was the only country that wasn't a royalty. It was a. They chopped off the king's head 200 years ago. So no one trusts managers here. So that's what I like about the country. If a manager comes up and says, "Do this," a Frenchman will say, "Why do you want me to do that?" I don't believe what you're saying. You have to tell me. So I like this Cartesian way of, the manager has to prove himself. It's not because he's a manager that he's right. He has to prove himself. Now you have to be polite. I've always respected managers, and I said, "Listen, let me first go see, and then we'll talk about it." I'm not saying you have to be blunt like I am. I'm just, but I don't trust anybody. And in fact, I tell managers, don't trust me. Wait until you see the results. Why would you trust me? If I were speaking, if I were you, I wouldn't even trust a word of what I'm saying. I don't even believe in what I say. There's this Christian saying, Saint Thomas only believed in what he saw. This Christian thing. I don't believe in what I see. I don't even believe anything. I have to do it and experience it and get a result. And when it works, then I might believe it, because it might work for a week. Who knows? It's going to work for a month. Well, that's
okay. So here it comes my two questions that might be weird. The first one is, okay, so we agreed that your system works, the one that went to the factory and spent 3 months developing the product. And we also agreed that the system those engineers spent 5 years on didn't work.
yeah.
But how do you know that this is like your system is the ultimate one, like the best possible scenario?
Well,
what's your
I'm not saying it's best, but you're getting to know me now, and I like to have a lot of fun. So very early, I was like a chess player with these engineers, because they're all dressed up in suits, and they come from these very prestigious colleges, like Harvard, Stanford, and they look at you if you're some kind of immigrant, maybe you have a backpack and you don't. So it's very funny, and I just love to see them be so self-assured. So one of my favorite games is playing chess with them and beating people. So there's a lot of fun in what I do. So I've played a lot of these games. So all I can say is it worked for me because I beat these people like, I don't know, 100 times in major corporations. People that working for years. Yeah, I can give you a very short example. Dyeing to change the color of cloth is a very difficult task. If you're working, I could even say the name. It was for the crocodile, for Lacoste.
Okay.
because the owners have changed now. So it's for Lacoste. And I had the general manager saying, Dennis, come over and talk to me. I'm having a problem. There's not the quality of dyeing we need, and it's a real problem. And we're in the early 1990s, and it was an automatic process already. It was automatic dyeing. The workers just had to put the product. And I said, and it's automatic. And he said, so go look at the software. I said, I'm not going to look at the software. He said, why? I have to go in the workshop. He said, you're crazy. It's an automatic system. I'm telling you, it's automatic. So why would you want to go into the workshop? Okay. I said, I don't care. If you want me to do it, I'm going in the workshop 24/7. So I was going day and night. In the middle of the night, I'd go there at 2 a.m, 3 a.m, 5 a.m, midnight, until I found out I never looked at the software. I don't even know what the software, but then I found the problem. There was a conflict between two shifts. There was a conflict between two shifts around 1 a.m, and they had to write down the filter, because you're supposed to do the white, then yellow, then green, and go to darker colors, because in the filter at the bottom of the machine, there's always something left, tiny. And one guy just didn't bother to change this filter. At 1 a.m, he went home, and then he didn't change the filter. So in big volumes, the color comes
The
out.
early morning t-shirts would have other colors,
but very slight, because it's mixed in huge volumes. But then I said, why don't you fill out the notebook? Hey, it's not my job. Why don't you tell him? Because it's time to go home. All I did was go buy in a shop, maybe a $1 notebook, because he didn't want to buy the notebook. I said, $1 notebook. And I said, I'm going to come here every day and you're going to write it down. The problem was solved in 2 days after. I went to see the general manager. What did you do? I bought a $1 notebook, was in francs, in fact. And now they respect it. And all you have to do is do a meeting every week in the morning, Japanese style, where they talk to each other and with this notebook, and they go through it. I didn't do anything.
Perfect. So
I didn't even install software. I didn't do anything.
Excuse me, everyone, real quick. I want to maintain a beautiful system that we have in place.
Okay, I'm going to go have soup and let you talk.
No. The point being, Dennis, we cannot offend Mrs. Rothman, because if we offend Mrs. Rothman, we don't get Dennis. So we're going to let Dennis go to soup now. Tell her that we had to, in fact, we want to generate goodwill with Mrs. Rothman. So tell her we told you to go so we wouldn't get in trouble with her.
And another thing, you won't have a headache.
Excellent. All right, tell her we made you leave.
Sell it. I did 2 things. I'm here on time for soup, and they don't need to take aspirin.
Excellent.
Okay.
See you, brother.
So I won't be next week because we're going on a little vacation. So I'll see you the week after. Okay.
Our loss. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Dennis.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Dennis.
Now I'm actually trying to let Greg moderate more today, but that was an intervention. Did we have any questions, or comments are great too? All right, Greg, take over. Mert wants to go.
Actually, I don't have a question, but as I said, I will help my elder brother, so I gotta go too.
I wanted to not as necessarily kind of ask the thoughts from the newcomers. This is our way to welcome you and have your thoughts from based on what you've heard today. Maybe we can start with Jung, and then we can go to Nikita if you want to provide us with a high level thought on what you've heard today. Jung?
In fact, Jiang, I'm really open to hearing the kind of stuff that was talked about from a Korean perspective, because your culture, your country has this rapidly improving manufacturing culture. What are your reaction to the things you've heard today? And you're on mute, just so you know, Jiang. So just unmute yourself first. And I hope we're not making you feel on the spot. We are really just eager to hear from the new people.
Nice to meet you.
So any
Yes.
thoughts from you on what was said this morning, Jiang, about how to develop expert systems by getting down there and working with the workers? What's your thoughts on that? Or what do you see in Korea? Because there's so many good things coming out of your country, South Korea, I should say.
I'm now getting started ML OPS.
Oh, very good. ML Ops, in other words.
ML Ops.
Excellent. Good to hear. Okay. And Nikita, I understand you're with IBM India.
Yeah, that's right. So actually today's session was super insightful for me. I think specifically for me because I'm in the industry. I've been working for 2 years straight out of college. So I did my undergrad and I worked for 2 years in data science and now I'm going to study. So I think what Ammar said and what Manpreet said really resonated with me because I'm at that intersection where I'm going into research, but I was a fresher straight out of college and doing a little bit of industry work. And just getting to hear all the examples from Dennis, I think it was really insightful. And it helped me get a feel of how I can maybe improve myself when I'm tackling a problem, because maybe it didn't occur to me that I should be on the field and go into a factory or something, because that's at least not how we ever encountered it at the workplace. But this was super insightful. And it's nice to hear everyone's stories because we get to learn something new from everyone else's stories.
Thank you, Nikita. That was great. Jaya, you did put something pretty interesting in the chat. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. The research at Kellogg School of Management. You want to expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just read it very briefly and very recently actually. And when the issue of trust was being spoken in this meeting, I wanted to share some of the learnings that I had from reading this book to share with y'all. And this was the research done with at Kellogg by Dr. Grayson. And he did he did a project called the Trust Project at Kellogg Management School. And he said from all the research he has done, these three things kind of stood out, these are the three pillars of trust, competence, honesty, and benevolence. And this is what he highlighted. And I thought it hit right on the spot for me. And it makes sense, competence is the ability to do something successfully. Are you competent in what you're doing? And secondly, is the company honest? Whatever the product that you're doing, whatever things that they do, are they doing what they are supposed to do and not misleading us? So the product has to be truthful, the company has to be truthful. And finally, benevolence, right? It's like, for example, say if you take a car in for repairs and you want to know that the mechanic is doing the repairs that you need and not anything else, right? So that's benevolence. So I think these three things kind of holds true for those pillars of trust. I think it's important. I think that's enough to know. Those are the three main things, and that's what I wanted to share with this group since I was reading about it. So.
Yeah, that's quite excellent. And to me, when a company really applies these three pillars, I think the final thing they can do to close the loop is to gather customer feedback and adjust as necessary. So when it comes to all of these conversations today, what I've heard, especially with Dennis's examples, is that we're talking about the true concept of working backwards. If you want to improve on something, you have to go at the source first to understand whether there's a problem or not, or whether there's a need to improve the system or product or not. And you cannot make any improvements until you've heard from the people using that system or product, and then you can work backwards from that through solutions. And it's all about iterations. Nothing is ever static. There's always a room to improve and get better at it. So I think this was a great great point, AI, and great discussion today. Anybody else has any thoughts? Oh, Jonathan, you have a question. You want to give it a go?
Yeah, thank you. This one's on what from Manpreet actually, and she brought up a very important word that we all like to use, but we don't use it often enough in some circumstances, and that's no. I think it's very important that you learn how to say no in the working environment. So there's a couple of reasons for that. That is one, to protect yourself, which I can speak from a personal level that a few years ago, because I hadn't learned to say no, I actually was with a burnout. And yeah, it's very important that we all learn to say no in the correct way, to not only protect yourselves, but also not to feel the odd one out from your team or looked down upon from your manager. So, and the question is to Manpreet, how would you say no? Just some thoughts from you. What practices can you share with all of us, how you would approach to saying no to a member of the team or to a higher management that requested something from you?
So basically, I had that sort of situation. I was working on an API, which I really worked very hard, and so I had a lot of work on Friday as well. But then I messaged my manager that I did a lot. I need a break for some time to think more on that. Could you please let me get a leave by 12 p.m. today, half day, so that on Monday I can come up with new ideas to use that API for our own business. So I think it's also important to what context you are saying to know, because if you say everything no, then he'll be like, okay, you can get out of the job. We don't need you. It's important that you do some work and then you say, okay, I have done this work, but I need some break and to get recharged, and I'll do it later on. Or I think I've done a similar kind of work, so a new employee or a new joinee or a fresher could look at it and he can also get a chance to learn, because I was passed on such work by my senior that, see, I've already written a code, you can refer to it and work from it. So yeah, I think it's how you play well with your words when you're communicating. And it also depends, because managers in India are quite different from managers in UK and US. So, because I have my seniors who, when joined a company, they did not ever had the habit to say no, because they were like, oh, if I get fired, if I don't get a raise, what will my manager think? And now the manager puts on all his work on them, and they don't get even free on Saturdays, and they work till 7 p.m. on Saturdays. So I think it's a work culture difference also, how you approach your manager. It's a very different work culture in every country.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
exactly,
Manpreet.
exactly.
So before we move forward here, I do have a question from Manpreet, but before I do so, I want to request a virtual applause for both Manpreet and Ammar for their presentation. A digital applause, please, if you don't mind. Thank you, team, for your presentation. That was awesome. I truly appreciated it. The
Thanks,
question
Thank you so much.
for, yes, of course. The question for Manpreet is, it's a two-level question. The first level is, do you believe that working on emotional intelligence can help entry-level professionals get started in Excel quickly and adopt company cultures at the optimal level? And then the second level is, what are the things they can do to work on emotional intelligence to be aware of their surroundings.
Can you repeat the first question again?
Yes, the first question is emotional intelligence an important aspect for entry-level professionals so they can adopt company cultures the best? And if emotional intelligence is an important aspect that they need to practice on, what are the tips and tricks for them to practice on it?
Okay, so for my case, I was always a very chatty and bubbly girl at college and used to, interact with every person I see from college gate to my department. But at work, I was just silent and I never knew what happens, what I was having a fear of judgment, to be honest, that what will other people think of me? How can I ask this? I used to spend like 4 hours working and researching, which I could have done in like 10 minutes asking to my teammate. And when my initial review happened, I got to know, okay, I was lacking on these many things. And then I started to ask. So I think as a fresher, we never know what we are like very emotionally attached to our first job. I think that's like, that's our first achievement and we are very emotionally attached to it and we don't want to just let it go because of bad feedback or something. But I think we should be ready for office politics if it happens in offices. And we should be ready for the criticism, and I think we should also be ready for people taking away your credits. Uh, so uh, but that teaches you a lot to grow as a person and whom to share what and what to not share with people. So that's what I think. But if anybody else has anything, can share on this topic and question, please.
I want to just interject very briefly to say none of these things are things you just learn and then all of a sudden you do them. They're things you're learning for a lifetime. Um, for example, your personal vision statements, they're going to change and grow over the years. Your elevator pitch, you're probably going to end up with 50 of them. Okay. It's okay to recognize that, oh, these are skills I'll be growing in the rest of my life. And emotional intelligence is not something that's achieved overnight. I'm the greatest testimony to that, I will assure you. So just a thought. Um, there's books on emotional intelligence that are quite famous. Take it slow, guys. Start and really, yes, studying the books is great, but putting into practice, that's not as easy. And be gentle and patient with yourself when you screw up royally, because you will. I can guarantee you that. And none of you will screw up as badly as I did. I can assure you that. So if you ever are thinking, I feel so horrible right now, I'm going to ask Tom over chat if he ever did anything worse than this. And I guarantee you, most certainly I did. So just don't ever beat yourself up too much. Maybe a little bit.
That's a great call out too, Tom. I really like that. It is a lifetime transformational process, and definitely something that I will take with me as I go. Nothing is ever static, right? So I do have a question for you, Tom. Maybe others can benefit from it. You did share the link to all of Dennis's books. For somebody like me who always say, "Oh, I'm from the business side, etc." In what order would you tell me to read these books? Oh, you're on mute, maybe.
Start. Yeah, I was. Let me
start with AI by example, maybe.
I think so, but actually, if you're already experienced at basic machine learning, I would say just what Ammar said. If you're not already experienced with basic supervised machine learning, please come to Gaith and I's class. Please buy our book when we publish it. But more importantly, I have tons of free references that I can send you. One was just published by someone on LinkedIn, a LinkedIn post this morning. I always grab them. I'm like, oh, I'm going to grab that just in case someone needs it. And that way you can share these with other people too when they need them. So there's so many good free references out there. You can find earlier revisions of Tom Mitchell's machine learning book for free on the internet, and it's a very good work. But once you understand the basics of machine learning, I think what Ammar said is right. Artificial intelligence by example, and then let's see. I'm not sure. Yes. There's some. Be careful. There's some earlier revisions or versions of Dennis's books. Just always get the latest ones.
Sounds good. Thank you. And now a question for Rife. The question I have for Rife is, you have seen a lot of the best practices of DevOps, and you would agree with me that ML Ops is quite a new concept. And what are you doing? I'm sorry, Noah, I'm in a call. Give me a second. Mommy's down. I'm so sorry, guys. Mommy is downstairs. So sorry, guys. So you would agree that MLOps is quite the new concept. I'll get you a snack in a little bit, Noah, please. So sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. So what would you say is the next evolution for MLOps? Knowing that it's still copying from the best practices of DevOps. What do you see there in that future?
This is a big question for me. I'm a very simple person. Don't put me in that place. Okay, if I want to approach this, we will find a time. Right now, we are just, I think we still forming the concepts, forming the let's say, the rule of MLOps. Now, yes, everything in MLOps, it's almost copied from DevOps and where it will reach. But I think what will happen soon, that these two rules, it will be somehow merged together. And then we will find ourselves that focusing on how this will help us. It's great what MLOps they are able to do and where it will go. But I think soon we will focus more on the data processing itself, on the modeling process itself, and we will back that MLOps. It's something like, how to say it will be for granted, let's say. This is how, let's say, this is what I wish it will be. That means the MLOps has to be mature enough to be for granted for all of your products. According to that, you are able to focus on your producing your product, maintaining it, and you are sure it will be deployed and served in the best way. Now, if we reach that point, I think we'll be on the good track in production life. So, as I told you, I cannot answer the question as a question itself, but this is what I wish to reach in general, and that our field will reach that point, which is it's mature enough rule and let's say practices that it will be for granted for all of our projects in different, no problem what is the team size, what is the company size, it will be sure deployed and served in the correct way. And this is for sure there is some technical requirement about it. Yes, Ammar, sure.
Let me add something here. I don't think anyone could answer this because he was asking about like what do you expect, and for me, what do I expect? I expect like some sort of like a fixed methodology that we're gonna be following with some dynamic routes. For example, like it's gonna be like an if-else series, and it will look at the end just like DevOps, just like how mature DevOps is now.
Yes, this is what I mean. But by the way, even right now, I don't think we reached the major DevOps 100% yet. Even the DevOps itself, it needs some improvement, or you feel that it needs to be more major. This is why when I mention about the MLOps, I think these two rules, it will be merged somehow in the future, first. And second, yes, when it's major enough, I think we will reach great point. And to be major enough, that's about the rule and the tasks itself. I think there is also some, let's say, environment requirement, hosting requirement, it will be there. And hopefully it will be available for everyone.
Thank you.
I would like to add, Greg, that I think, Transformers just exploded onto the scene, and they're so cool. But now there's a lot of really cool things going on that are not being emphasized very strongly, like different ways to train Transformers, or different mechanisms that can replace the attention mechanisms. And we're at the cusp of some exciting times where I think we're going to see the tools enter a new level over the next 5 years. We're going to see the Lego principles that Dennis emphasizes in his Transformers book become more obvious. We're really at the cusp of seeing some exciting things, both vertically and horizontally. As Guy has taught me to say, really, Ammar's talk, part of the talk was focused so strongly on showing researchers do the vertical and production people do the horizontal. The researchers are trying to think how to come up with better math machines. And the production people are thinking more like Henry Ford, how to get the benefits, the return on data more thoroughly. And Greg, I think this is an answer to your question. And of course, you and I have a talk on this together. I think the world, the data world, and I mean data specialists in general world, need to start realizing, okay, if 80% of our work comes from all the data cleansing, conditioning, feature engineering, all that, then shouldn't 80% of the benefit we give back to the business come from that phase of the work, and not always a hyper focus on the modeling predictions? That's my thought. I think it answers your question, Greg, but I'm not sure.
Yes, that does it for me. And nowadays I'm seeing a lot of other tools emerge. So when it comes to what people call data observability tools that monitors data drift on your behalf, so you don't have to put mechanisms in place for that. I was wondering what kind of other software might be born to improve those MLOps. So when it comes to Transformers, the Legos, as you say, what would be a mechanism to standardize the way we optimize these Transformers? Those are the things that I wanted to have a better understanding on. So thank you. Anybody else has any thoughts, any questions? I think this was super great today. Very enlightening.
Yes, exactly. I do agree that the time passes like very fast this time. 1 hour, 40 minutes, just like
especially when you present. Yes, it does.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, probably.
So Hugo, I will bring a guy that I regard as my big brother. His name's Michael Sheehan. I'll talk to him as soon as possible. He is a black belt extraordinaire He's the kind, if you think of the kind of story that Dennis just told, he's that same guy, but as a black belt, as a Six Sigma black belt. And he's got stories to tell. And so Hugo, when we have that session, you will be the moderator, okay?
Okay.
Awesome, awesome. And I want everyone here to think of black belts as our closest cousins to data science, data specialists. They really, we need to work with black belts as often as we can. And yeah, I can't emphasize enough that the importance of that. Greg, what do you think? Should we close shop today?
I think so, and I'd like to thank every one of you. I think it was a super great session again. And if anybody has any last thoughts, please feel free to say